To celebrate his wife's upcoming delivery, John gave her an adorable doll. This doll was made by a renowned carpenter who had mysteriously died 12 years ago, making the doll a rare collector's item. Mia was thrilled with the gift and proudly placed it on the shelf. Late at night, the lights in the neighbor's house suddenly turned on. It looked like they had an intruder. Mia heard the commotion and quickly woke John, telling him she heard screams from next door. John looked through the window and saw something was wrong, so he told her to stay put while he went to investigate. Still uneasy, Mia stepped outside to see what was happening. Just as she reached the neighbor's door, John came running back in a panic, covered in blood. He urged Mia to call the police and get an ambulance. Mia sprinted back inside and grabbed the phone, but halfway through explaining the situation to the operator, she sensed a figure pass behind her. She turned toward the sound, and a strange woman emerged holding the doll. Startled, Mia warned her that she had already called the police and that her husband would be back any second. Unbeknownst to her, a stranger grabbed Mia from behind and stabbed her in the stomach. When John came back, he immediately took down the man, then lunged at the strange woman and struggled with her. But John was ultimately no match for them, attacking from both sides. In a sudden panic, the woman ran into the next room. By then, the police had arrived and shot the man dead. When they opened the room where the woman had hidden, they found she had slit her own throat while clutching the doll. Mia was rushed to the hospital, and fortunately, the knife hadn't harmed the baby in her stomach. After John brought his wife home, Mia started feeling that something was off in the house. First, the sewing machine inexplicably turned on by itself, and then the doll eerily appeared sitting on a chair. She insisted that her husband get rid of the doll. That day, John was sent out of town by the hospital for an important meeting, but shortly after he left, Mia suddenly smelled something burning. Following the scent, she was horrified to see the kitchen engulfed in flames. She stepped back in shock and fell to the floor. As she tried to call for help, an invisible force pulled her back. Luckily, the neighbors, hearing the commotion, rushed in and saved her. Meanwhile, John was at the hospital, relieved to hear that both mother and baby were safe. Mia gave birth to a baby girl. After everything that had happened, Mia felt that the house was haunted by something sinister. So she quickly convinced her husband to move, and they started a new life. But while sorting through some boxes, Mia pulled out that familiar doll. John was stunned. He was certain he had thrown it away, and there was no way it should have appeared here. Mia admitted she didn't know how it got there. Maybe it got mixed up during the fire, but she still set the doll aside. Later that night, Mia noticed a figure seemingly standing behind the curtains. All he did was give his wife a doll, never expecting it would trigger a series of terrifying supernatural events in their home. That night, Mia noticed what looked like someone standing behind the curtains. She followed it, only to find the sewing machine suddenly turning on by itself. She quickly rushed over and cut the power. At the same time, she noticed a child standing behind her. Mia asked who she was and what she was doing in her house, but the child said nothing, just stared at her. Later, she told her husband John everything that had happened. John believed it was just postpartum anxiety causing hallucinations, but Mia strongly disagreed. So the next day, John took Mia to see a priest, hoping that prayers and reassurance might help her feel better. After returning home, Mia went down to the basement alone to store some things. While sorting through the boxes, she suddenly heard a baby crying. Then, a stroller slowly rolled into the middle of the hallway. She walked over and pulled back a blood-stained cloth, but the stroller was empty. The sudden scene terrified her, and she rushed into the elevator. At the same time, a strange symbol appeared on the spot where the demon had grabbed her hand. When the elevator doors opened, she thought she had reached the upper floor, but it was still the basement. Panicked, she frantically pressed the buttons to close the doors. But just like before, the elevator didn't move, and the doors opened again. The lights inside began flickering on and off. The moment the doors opened, Mia bolted for the stairwell across the hall. But when she looked back, she saw the demon crawling up after her, clinging to the stairs beneath her feet. Mia sped up and ran all the way back into her apartment. The next day, Mia removed the bandage and found that the mark left by the demon had mysteriously disappeared. She was stunned, but the symbol felt familiar, like she had seen it somewhere before. so she tracked down the detective who had handled the recent murders and asked to see the crime scene photos. Sure enough, the same symbol appeared at the scene. Mia began to suspect it was some kind of demonic mark. She then headed to a local library to start digging for answers. There, the librarian Evelyn approached her and mentioned that her late daughter looked a lot like Mia. Mia opened up and told her that she believed a demon was haunting her. Evelyn then brought her several books about demons. Back home, Mia started going through the books, hoping to find a way to stop it. But as she read, all the toys in the nursery suddenly started going off at once. When she rushed in to look around, the doors behind her slammed shut on their own. No matter how hard she pulled, they wouldn't open. At the same time, she heard movement from her baby's room. Trapped outside, Mia dropped to the floor and called out her daughter's name through the crack under the door. All he did was give his wife a doll, never expecting it would unleash a series of terrifying supernatural events in their home. That day, Mia suddenly heard all the toys in the nursery next door going off at once. As she went in to check, the two doors behind her slammed shut on their own. No matter how hard she pulled, they wouldn't budge. At the same time, she heard movement coming from her baby's room. Trapped outside, Mia had no choice but to drop to the floor and call her daughter's name through the crack under the door. Grabbing a chair, Mia smashed the lock and rushed in, scooping up her baby. At that moment, the doll eerily rose up from the floor. Hearing something behind her, Mia slowly turned around. Just then, John came home and heard his wife screaming. He rushed inside and asked what happened. Soon after, they called the same priest from before. After hearing Mia's story about the doll, the priest explained that demons can sometimes use objects as vessels to move around and prey on human souls. But there's a rule: they can't just take a soul. They need the person's consent. Mia then asked how they could get rid of it. The priest suggested taking the doll to the church first, where it could be contained with holy objects. Then, once he contacted a couple who specialized in exorcisms, they would hand it over to them. With that, the priest took the doll and left. But just as he arrived at the church, the priest was later rushed to the hospital. When he woke up, John immediately asked what had happened. The priest said it was all because of the doll and that it was desperate to claim Mia's soul. Hearing this, John quickly called Mia, telling her to leave the house immediately while he was on his way back. After hanging up, Mia heard someone knocking at the door. She looked through the peephole and saw it was the priest, so she opened the door without hesitation.
Is everything all right?
May God have mercy on your soul!
Then the demon entered the house, and Evelyn, the librarian, was there with Mia. Mia suddenly heard her baby crying, but when she followed the sound, her daughter was nowhere to be seen, only the empty cries echoing around her, while all the dolls nearby were covered in blood. Both Evelyn and Mia were frozen in fear. They tried to run out of the house, but the demon suddenly appeared on the ceiling, shoving Evelyn outside and slamming the door shut. Now alone, Mia frantically searched the house for her baby. Then she saw a crayon roll out of the nursery. When she walked in, she found the walls covered in writing, and inside the crib lay that creepy doll. Mia grabbed it and smashed it in a burst of anger. Then a voice guided her toward the window. At that moment, Mia realized the demon wanted her soul in exchange for her daughter's life. Without hesitation, she climbed onto the windowsill. At the same time, John unlocked the door and rushed inside, only to see Mia standing by the window, about to jump. He desperately tried to stop her, but Mia just wanted to save her daughter and turned to leave. John sprinted over and pulled her back just in time. As John comforted Mia, a voice suddenly interrupted them. They turned around and saw Evelyn standing on the windowsill in Mia's place. She said a child needs a mother. Without hesitation, she jumped to her death. As Evelyn died, Mia's baby suddenly reappeared in the crib. 6 months later, the doll had vanished after everything that happened. The last time it was seen was in a toy store, where an elderly woman bought it as a birthday gift.